Okay, so we're live.
Okay, good deal. Hello, everyone. Here we
Hi,
are back for another Memory People Talks. Today is May the 4th,
May the 4th.
and I haven't, what's that?
Yeah, it's May the 4th.
Yeah, we haven't been around for a while. It's been about 3 weeks or so. I've had some stuff going on at the house, and haven't been able to live there. They've been remodeling and stuff, so I've been in and out and things like that.
Right.
But we're back. We're back. I'm up at the camper now. I don't know if I can't tell, but I am. Um, and I'll have Leanne introduce herself, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, all right. Um,
Excuse me.
well, my name is Ann James, and I lost my mom and mother-in-law both to dementia. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and my mom had vascular dementia, and they passed away about 5 years ago. So I went looking for help online and found Memory People, the support group on Facebook that Rick created. And so I work with Rick on things like this and things to help other people and support them in this journey and everything. So that's kind of what I do. And doing these talks is part of that. We try to hit this once a week or as much as we can. So that's kind
Yeah.
of my story.
Yep, and my name is Rick Phelps, of course, and I was diagnosed in 2010 with early onset Alzheimer's. Since that time, like Leanne said, I started Memory People. It's a group on Facebook. Most people know about it and watch these videos, and if you don't, it's on Facebook. You just type in Memory People, and it'll ask you if you want to join, and we add you, and it's for patients and caregivers and advocates and just anybody that wants to know about dementia, really. I mean,
Yeah,
we discuss a whole range of things, and there's a couple of topics that we don't discuss. Other than that, I
it's all
think we're up to about 19,000 people or
close.
18,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
something.
about 18,700 and something. It's close. Yeah. Yep. Growing every day.
Yeah, it's been a blessing. It really has been. I remember when I started it was a couple 300, and then we went to, well, it just grew, and now we're growing leaps and bounds, and we couldn't be happier. It's, I remember some person told me one time, it's all about the numbers with Rick. Well, it is about the numbers because the more people that joins Memory People, the more people we help. We
Exactly.
help people every day. Everybody helps each other with their comments and their suggestions and whatever. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if we only had 5 people on Memory People, it probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, you would kind of wonder what can we do to get more people to know about
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And when I started, a lot of people, I just knew it would work. And the only reason why I knew it would work because I needed it. I needed it. And I learned a long time ago, I've had a couple, 3 businesses. And if you can find a product or anything that someone needs, then you're going to be successful. I
Right.
mean, it doesn't matter what it is. And I looked around for a long time. Well, not a long time. I was diagnosed in 2010. And that week, I mean, I was diagnosed in, I don't remember what month, don't matter. But the following week, I started out on a research binge and I couldn't find nobody that knew anything
Yeah.
that would answer any questions. I
Yeah.
asked a question, they might get back with me the next day or something, and that doesn't work with a dementia patient. Didn't work for
Right.
me. So,
Right. Right.
and I was on Facebook, but I never used Facebook. I really didn't. I just joined Facebook about, I don't even know, maybe 3 or 4 months before I started Memory People, and I realized that it was a tool to get to reach people. It just absolutely is. Everybody knows
Yes,
that. And
it's like live interaction. It's like people can
yeah,
actually have a conversation.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's um, instantaneous. That's what I like about it. You don't have to wait. Somebody asks a question at 3 in the morning on Memory People, you're going to get an answer. It ain't going to be 3 hours later. I mean, that's just the way it is. So it's 3 in the afternoon. Somebody's always around, and but anyway, I'm just rambling. But it works. It works well, and people really enjoy it. And it's an escape, if you will, for the caregivers sometimes to
Absolutely.
vent. about what's going on in their life and the tragedies they go through and some of the triumphs. It just, it works good.
You find out you're not alone. I mean, because we are worldwide, so people all around the world are dealing with this, and it's the same everywhere you go.
Well, it certainly is. I know I talk to people all over the world. Well, we both have over the years, and everybody's got the same, the same questions and the same problems and same issues.
And dementia affects everybody the same way. I mean, So it's a good thing.
So today's topic, me and Leanne come up with this. She's such a good egg. I just love her. We come up with our topic today, and it is false hope.
Yeah. Which is
an excellent topic.
Well, it's everywhere, Let me just comment too. We have 4 people watching, which is really good. So that means it's all working. But everybody that's here, and if you see this, there's a comment box. So go ahead and leave a comment. And what we're going to do is we read those, and then if you have a question or you want to make a comment or whatever, I will see them and read them, and then Rick and I will address that and talk about it so that it's kind of an interactive thing. And I just wanted to say that if somebody's new, that they know they can talk to us.
Are you seeing the comments, or is there
Not yet? I'm a little nervous. I don't see any comments
yet.
So last time the comment box wasn't working real well, but I'm switching over to our other page too, just to make sure that, So, but anyways, today we're talking about false hope, which is timely.
It is. Yeah, it's rampant too. You'd be surprised if and I'm not saying we have the best site on Facebook. I truly think we do, but I don't go to many anymore because I'm so busy with memory people and things like that. But I have a couple other pages here locally that I've got a couple thousand people in, or maybe 3,000 or 4,000. And I don't, the same way with memory people, I don't allow people to go crazy on the page like some of these Facebook pages are. I mean, I just don't, the 4-letter words and it just out lying about whatever, or just whatever,
Right.
If people wants to do that and create drama and stuff, that's fine. It's just that it's not how I roll. And I've called some people on my other pages on it, and some of them understand, and some of them don't like it. But I get a lot of replies on the other pages about how they like the forum, how it's uplifting.
It's a safe and comfortable place to talk and not feel like you're going to get pounced on.
I tell everybody, there's nothing wrong with debate. I enjoy debating people about anything, as long as you're, reasonable about it.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody should have an opinion on things, and my opinion is no better than anybody else's, no worse. I mean, but that's why memory people I don't really work so well, I think. But anyway, back to false hope. One of the big things that I wanted to mention is Sunday is a big day for me.
I know.
The ceremonies start at 12:30.
AM or PM?
AM.
AM. So early.
Yeah.
Well, everybody in the UK will be ready.
I know. I have a stage set up in the back of the house.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to walk across the stage and get my diploma.
Well, cool. Good. And is Phyllis going to record it?
Yes. Phyllis is going to be she's going to be the videographer. Yeah.
Awesome. Good.
And the diploma will be, Sunday I graduate from early onset Alzheimer's to full-blown Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Because I turned 65, and if anybody follows this fiasco close enough, you will know that if you're 65 or younger and diagnosed with Alzheimer's, you have early onset Alzheimer's, just because of your age.
Because of your age.
If you're 65 or older, you have Alzheimer's. If you're 65 or less, you have early onset.
So, I mean, I know this, but like if you're not 65 years old yet, and you're having issues with memory, whatever, and they say, well, we think you have Alzheimer's, there is no additional testing or anything else they do to say that it's early. It's just your age. If you're 64 and a half, you have early
Right.
on. And if you're 65 and
Yeah.
one day, yeah.
This is one of them things where somebody in their infamous wisdom wrote down somewhere that if you're 65 or younger, you have the early onset Alzheimer's instead of Alzheimer's. Now, who knows when this? I mean, I don't know where it come from. It's just I make light of it because I thought it was ridiculous when I first learned about it.
That's the only
I
criteria
even
that I know of. It's just
right
age. Right. But yet they
because the
say that
neurologist. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, no. I was just going to say, but then they say it progresses differently, that it's different than
Progresses faster. It's the
I'm not
fastest progressing dementia type of dementia that there is, which is another fallacy. But that's what the neurologist told me when he diagnosed me. He diagnosed me with early onset Alzheimer's slash MCI, mild cognitive impairment.
yeah.
And of course, I asked him. We asked questions, and he said, "Well, we diagnose people with early onset Alzheimer's because of your age. You're only 57 years old." And I'm like, "Well, how old you got to be to get Alzheimer's?" He said, 65.
So why
And he
aren't
said
people
that was
diagnosed with early onset cancer or early
I
onset?
don't know.
I'm
He
just
said it with straight. He said it with a straight face. I just couldn't believe it. I
yeah.
just couldn't believe it.
I've never
And
really researched it that much, but
well, it's like everything else. You're going to get different answers to everything. But this is what I've always read and always heard: that if you're 65 years younger, you have early onset Alzheimer's. If you're 65 or older, you have Alzheimer's. Here's another idiocy that we have to deal with. Sunday, I will no longer be disabled. I really love this one.
that's right.
I will no longer be receiving a disability check Sunday because I turned 65 and I'm not eligible. I'm not employable, so I'm no longer disabled. I just get Social Security then. They kicked me off of disability. Everybody, not just me. You know, if you turn 65, you're not employable anymore, so you
Right.
don't get disability anymore. You just get Social Security.
I see.
Now, here's my beef with that, and I don't care. I paid in the disability. Everybody does. You pay the disability, you pay in the Social Security. You know, that's what you do your entire life. You know, you pay into these two. Now, my thinking is you should continue to get your disability check and get a Social Security check because you turn 65 and you're entitled to the money that you put in there.
Right.
But of course, that isn't the way it works.
Yeah.
The government keeps your money. They just say, well, you're not disabled anymore because you're no
So
longer employable. So now you're on Social Security.
because if you were 65 and you could work, that's when you would generally retire and wouldn't work and wouldn't have that income, is what they're
Yeah,
figuring. Yeah.
yeah. It's just a way of, and I shouldn't be like this, but it's just a way for the government to hose you just one more time, you know.
Well, I mean, that if they're good at anything, that's what they're good at.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. We
But
have,
I've struggled with it. Go ahead.
no, I was going to go ahead.
I was just going to say I've struggled with this, you know, off and on for a long, long time about this early onset. You know, I've had people tell me at speaking engagements and over memory people or whatever that, you know, early onset Alzheimer patients progress
Yeah.
faster. Well, that I don't know how they know that. I don't even know who they are, but I know for a fact that I know people that were 65 and diagnosed with Alzheimer's that aren't here anymore. And
Right.
it's only been a couple, 3 years.
Right. From diagnosis.
But but then you also got to look at what other medical issues they might have had, heart problems or whatever. I don't know, cancer or whatever. Excuse me, but I know with early onset, I've progressed. Obviously, I mean, I know I've progressed, but it hasn't been at no steady pace, I think, anyway.
Right.
So I'm a perfect example that that's not true.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
not.
No, we were talking earlier. We look at my mother-in-law.
Right.
She was diagnosed in her 70s and progressed pretty quickly through everything. Yes, I agree. I don't know where that came up with. It's said, it's always they say that,
I know.
I'm not sure where that comes from.
The thing of it is, everybody's getting older, obviously, and we're all going to die, obviously. But a lot of people that have Alzheimer's, they have a whole host of other illnesses.
Right.
Now, thankfully, as of today, I don't have that problem. I don't have blood pressure problems. I don't have cholesterol problems or heart problems, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
That could change tomorrow.
Right.
I've never had a stroke or nothing. But there's people my age and a little older that's had, a mirage of hospital and medical issues, and or they're just not well,
Right.
And that's just life, That's just life, That goes with life, whether you've got dementia, cancer, or you're healthy as a horse,
Yeah.
And but some of the statistics, me and Leanne was talking before we went on air here. Some of the statistics that you can read is just mind-boggling of some of the nonsense that they come up with.
Yeah, the studies and
statistics show.
Right. The studies, it's
right.
And it's just like what you were saying with the internet. All those things are only as accurate and as good as the person who's putting it out there.
It is. And that doesn't mean everybody on the internet don't know anything. That just means what it means, It's just as good as the person putting it out there.
Exactly. We do have some comments here in the box. So,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. So 14 people are watching. Awesome. Okay. So let's see. Somebody's watching from Ireland. So.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Yay.
Margot said one scam or false hope would be coconut oil.
Yep.
Yeah. We see that.
And here's the thing. I'm glad she brought that up. Here's the thing about coconut oil. We've not battled, but we've talked about this for years too. Our stance, when I say our stance, memory people's stance on coconut oil is, excuse me, nothing's bad for you in moderation. Excuse me, but the amount of coconut oil that some of these people prescribe to you for dementia is up to 8, 10, 12 tablespoons a day.
Not good.
Excuse me.
To treat Alzheimer's or whatever, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And first of all, it doesn't slow the progression and doesn't stop Alzheimer's. And all you're doing is giving yourself a much greater chance of cholesterol issues.
Yeah.
I never downgraded anybody for I've got a cold, excuse me.
That's okay.
I've never downgraded anybody for believing that coconut oil helps their patient. The only thing I've ever said on memory people is when somebody comes out and says that they know for a fact that it slows or stops the progression, which is an absolute lie. It doesn't, and there's no studies on that that shows that. So we don't allow that stuff to be said because it's simply not true. Might be someday, but it's the old fallacy I've said forever. If coconut oil slowed the progression of Alzheimer's, you wouldn't buy it down at Walmart for $5 a jar.
No. Our concern has been that people are safe. That's why we don't let things go on NMP because you're going to take 8 or 9 or 10 tablespoons of that every day. People tell you to eat that much, you're going to treat dementia. And there are stories out there of people that have really been hurt by that. So.
Well, yeah, and it's no different if somebody come up with the idea that 10 or 12 Mountain Dews slow the progression of dementia.
Exactly. Those things like hot chocolate, drinking hot chocolate, and they're just, there's tons of them.
Aluminum pans. That's another
aluminum pans, yes. Taking different things, I think turmeric and different herbs and things like that will prevent you from getting it. And if you want to take those things, like you said, you take those things, that's perfectly fine. we just wouldn't want anybody to get hurt. And I think that, and you've
Right.
talked about it, walking in the reality of this. There are no studies that are showing this as medical proof.
No,
Yeah.
I wish there was. You know,
Yeah.
I, along with millions and millions of other people, wish that I could take a couple teaspoons of castor oil or
Whatever.
whatever,
Yeah.
and it would slow this progression.
Oh,
I'd do about anything, but
yeah.
we're simply not there yet. And these are all false hopes.
Yeah.
That's all these are. I mean, if you think your loved one is better because you're getting a coconut oil, well, more power to you. You know, whatever.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Julianne said here,
Excuse me.
it's okay. Julianne said, being a caregiver is the hardest thing I've ever done. Mom has been gone for 2 years and it has changed me and I can't get me back. I was asked if I knew would I do it. That's the dumbest question asked. I think she meant if she would do this again or whatever, but yeah.
What was the beginning of her? What'd you say? The
She
beginning
said
of it was.
being a caregiver is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Oh, I'm
Her mom
sure.
passed away 2 years ago. Yeah. And she said it's changed me and I can't get me back. And I could just tell you, Julianne, I've lost my mom and my mother-in-law both. And what I personally have found is that that's not there anymore. Trying to get back to me or how I was or how things were, it's just not there. Like it's now you're reinventing, kind of like reinventing yourself in this new life that you're in, because everything that you're experiencing now is without your mom. And it
Right.
always will be that way now. So, I don't have, those are like pillars in your life that when they're gone, it's
Right.
a very different thing. So,
Right.
yeah.
And you know, caregivers, and here's the thing that I think about all the time. We have people on memory people that, I mean, they don't they don't get out of the house.
Right.
They just don't.
Right.
I mean, they don't they don't go down to wherever and go shopping for an hour or go out and eat lunch with somebody.
Never.
Them days are been gone, and they're gone until sadly the situation changes where the person's in a nursing facility or they pass away. And and life leaves you behind. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you are devoted 24/7 to this person that you love. And I give them all the kudos in the world, and I always have and I always will.
Yeah.
But it's a horrible, horrible thing for caregivers to have to care for a dementia patient. It just is.
Well, and as far as we've ever seen on MP, nobody is beating down your door to come spend time with you and your loved one, or to say, I'll sit with them and take you out, or whatever.
Right.
Caregivers are isolated,
Right.
terribly isolated. Yeah.
Right. And
So,
most, not every family member, but most family members know how to take care of a dementia patient better than you do, the caregiver. That's just because that's how the mindset is.
right.
Well, they can do this better. You ought to do this, or you ought to do that. They come up with all these little fixes that they think is going to change things, and they're just. It's not. I used to say this all the time. It's not ignorant people. It's just people ignorant of the disease. They don't
Yeah.
understand. I mean, when you're a caregiver for a dementia patient in the mid to late stages, you you're taking a chance by taking a shower.
Right.
You're leaving that person alone for 8, 10, 12 minutes while you're in the shower. I'm
God.
telling you, a lot of bad
Yeah.
things can happen in 8 or 10 minutes, and people
Right.
don't understand that.
You can't understand it till you walk it.
No,
Like
that's exactly right.
even if
Yeah,
you've worked with dementia patients your whole life, unless you're there.
yeah,
I was never, and I say this every time. My dad took care of my mom, and my father-in-law took care of my mother-in-law. And they were their primary caregivers, and they're saints for all I can
yeah.
say. But we supported them. So even I don't know what that's like, that 24-hour round the clock, at home behind closed doors with your loved one. It's
Right.
until you do, it's just a whole nother world.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And I've Here's what you'll see. I've ha- I've had people who think they're caregivers say to other caregivers, "Well, you just need to walk outside and count to 10, or get your thoughts together, or go in another room." And
Right.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
When you walk outside and count to 10, that person is not stopping. They're going to,
Right.
as bad as whatever it is they just did, when you're walking outside and getting your thoughts together, they could be doing something twice as bad.
You've left them
That's
alone.
what people don't realize that aren't around it.
Yeah. And that's why you have to be, it's like, and that kind of plays into the whole false hope thing. You've got to
Yeah,
be aware of your circumstance and what works for you and what doesn't. Like
yeah,
well-meaning siblings, well-meaning friends saying, well, have you tried coconut oil or have you tried this? We have members on
right.
NP that all the time, and it's just like they just don't
Yep.
understand. They don't get it.
No,
That's not going to work.
the thing I beat the drum about a lot in the years past is about wondering. And a lot of people say, well, my loved one hasn't ever wondered, and they never have. And the thing of it is, wondering is one of them deals where they haven't yet. Because your loved one can sit in a recliner and that's what they do all day and all night. That's what they do. But if there's going to come a day when you're going to go in the kitchen and make something, or you're going to be in the shower or something, and you come out and they're not in that recliner,
Exactly. And
and
it's that fast.
that's when the most horrible feeling in the world is going to get in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm just saying that this is a reality.
Right.
The people that has happened to is the people you need to talk to. I've seen this in EMS and I've seen it in police work, and it's, if you think losing a small child is scary, try losing your 80-year-old mother.
Right.
Huh, the
Right.
person that brought you into this world.
And it's speaking of that, it's like you plan that, you go to a store, whatever, you keep an eye on, or if you're at home and
Right.
with a small child, you take all of those precautions because as soon as they start walking, they're going to start doing
Oh
this.
yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
never to degrade a dementia patient, but you kind of have to be in that mindset. You do preventive as much as you can.
That's all you can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you
Yeah.
can do. You know, uh, you got to sleep. You got
Right.
to take a shower. There's certain private times in your life you just got to do it.
Right.
And
But
this
how many?
doesn't mean, we're not talking about this to scare people, that just because you're in the shower, your loved one's going to bolt out the door or something. But it happens, I mean,
Yeah.
it just does. And
Oh goodness.
it's one of the things that isn't taken seriously enough, and until it happens to you. And the first thing, I was on a radio show there last week or the other day or something, and I tried to talk about this. And the first thing people do is call 911, thinking the people that come to their house are trained in this, and they're not. I know they're not, because I was there. I was
Yeah.
in police work and I was in EMS, and they're not trained to take care of a lost dementia patient. That's
Right.
just what you think.
Mindset. Yeah. Right. Right.
Now they're going to help your loved one. They're going to, I'm not, but what I'm telling you is they're not going to know what to do,
Yeah.
because they're
Exactly.
not trained in that.
Right. And how to
They're,
deal with
they're not,
a dementia patient and what a patient might be feeling and going through.
especially one that's been wandering for a few hours,
Yeah.
or a couple hours or a couple days or something.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell a quick story here. One time I was out on patrol, and make a long story short, this guy had been driving in his car for 5 hours. 5 hours. He was 300 miles from where he was supposed to be, and he ended up at a golf course that I was working around, and he crashed through the front gate and was doing donuts and all kinds of stuff. And I had to, well, I finally got him stopped and all this stuff, and it was so sad. I mean, he didn't know who he was, he didn't know where he was at, he didn't know who I was. The uniform didn't mean nothing to him. He
Yeah.
was one kind of petrified person.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was got a hold of his daughter. Well, she's 3 hours away. That wasn't going to help me a bit.
Well, and I would think, would it be where you would think maybe this person is on some sort of drugs or something
No,
like?
I knew he had, I didn't know he had, I didn't know he was an Alzheimer's patient or dementia or whatever, but I knew
That there was
it was
something.
it was down that road because of his
Yeah,
age and his demeanor, the way he was dressed. He wasn't making a bit of sense,
yeah,
You
yeah,
could tell by looking at him and talking to him. He hadn't had a stroke or nothing, so that was out. But
yeah.
some of these people, sadly, you got nursing homes that they call them lockdown units in the Alzheimer's wards, and they shouldn't do that. But that's what they call them. I
Right.
mean, they're under lock and key, and you got patients wandering out of there. So don't think they
Right.
can't get out of your front room.
Exactly. Right. No. PETA said here, PETA Kennedy is her name. She said, isn't dementia different in people though? I think she commented that when we were talking about being diagnosed with early onset as opposed to if you're over 65, regular Alzheimer's or whatever. And she just said, isn't dementia different in people? And yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, it's different on how the symptoms affect them. Just like things that affect me, like crowds of people, 2 or 3 people, or whatever. I'm not good with that. And there's other people that it may not bother, noises, and you know. But it absolutely, all types of dementia affects people different. I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I deal with, and we've talked about this before, sundowners. A lot of people battle with that, and some people don't. I mean,
right.
it's just.
It affects
I'll tell you
everybody.
this: when it comes to all, that's right. When it comes to all the symptoms and all the things that you got to deal with, the patient does. The the main thing that I can tell people that'll help them is medication,
Yeah,
and nobody wants to have their patient in a zombie state,
right.
but you got to get them on some medication to take care of this anxiety and nervousness and I mean, I'm on a whole
Depression.
host. I take 17 pills a day, and none of them's for dementia. It's for the symptoms of dementia.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a girl the other day, a couple of days ago, up here at the camper. I didn't even recognize her. I talked to her for a few minutes, and hell, I graduated with her. And she's diagnosed with, she said Alzheimer's, and I knew that wasn't right. I didn't, I didn't say anything because she she's no older than me, so I know it had to be early onset Alzheimer's or front lobe or whatever. But
Yeah.
she, I forgot what I was saying.
You were talking to a girl at the camper, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Um,
Yeah, I was
it,
going to tell you
was
something.
she? We were talking about how it's different in everybody. Um,
Oh, I know what I was going to say. She was telling me that she quit taking all her medication about a year ago or two, something like that. And I said, really? She said, yeah, I don't take nothing. And I'm like, how's that working out for you? She said, what's better? And I'm like, well, did you do that through a doctor or on your? She said, no, I did it on my own. And I'm like, oh man, that's dangerous, Kay. It just is. It's just I wouldn't suggest anybody do that. But I said, I'm glad that you're getting better. What you might have looked at is having your medication decreased some instead of
right.
going cold turkey like that. But there's no way I can't do without my medication. It just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. The nerves and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just the difference in people, or the difference in disease, or however you want to look at it. Maybe
Sure.
I'm further along than she is, or who knows? But
Well, yeah, but that's like the perfect example is
yeah,
affecting two people differently.
yeah,
Uh, that kind of leads into what you tend to hear a lot. I'm sure a lot of patients must hear is, well, you and my loved one are about the same age, and you were diagnosed about the same time, and how come my loved one is so much worse than you, or
yeah,
whatever. And that
yeah.
just shows right there, two people about the same age diagnosed with the same thing, and you're both doing different.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that falls on what I do. I put myself out there a long, long time ago. You know, you're not going to find too many dementia patients that does these little video chats or I mean,
Right. Right.
traveled around, used to do talking, speaking engagement, things like that. Um, I do that because I wanted to do that at the beginning of this, and I've always done it.
Yeah.
Now, there's people that won't talk about it, and they just
You
won't,
know,
and that's just the difference in people.
right.
But as far as someone being my age and about the same diagnosis, and them being worse, well, I mean, God knows that. God is the only one that knows that. There's no doctor that can figure it out. If they could, they would have already.
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Everybody's different, you know. I mean, you got somebody that's 70 years old in the picture of health, and you got somebody else that's 70 years old, and, they've got severe arthritis. Well,
Well,
why is that?
I
I
was
mean,
I was gonna say, no matter what if they were both diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, cancer, whatever kind, the same kind, they would not be doing exactly the same today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Getting back to what I was saying about me doing videos and stuff, what people see is not, they see a perception of me. They
Right.
don't see the dementia. They don't see how I go through life day in, day out.
Right.
I mean, they just don't see it.
They don't
So
see what
they
goes on.
just, what's that?
Well, they don't see what goes on in your head. They don't see what you struggle with. And you've shared that even Phyllis June doesn't see 100% of what you struggle
Oh
with.
no, no, and I don't go into everything with her or anybody else because it just doesn't do any good. But um, I have my good days, bad days, good hours, bad hours, just like everybody does. And I certainly I don't know how many um, talks or how many Skypes me and Leanne's done over the years that I had to get a hold of her and say I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't do
Right.
it.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen today. It don't matter how important it is. I can't do it.
Yeah. And that's what's not seen. That's
Right,
yeah. Right.
right.
Yeah.
Um, I I keep telling people I'm in the mid stage. I just know I am. I don't go by the 7 stages. I go by early stage, mid stage, and late stage.
Yeah.
And I think I consider myself in the mid stages of it, and that's okay. You know, I'm
Right.
65. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
soon graduate to Alzheimer's, and we'll see what that brings. You know, there should be a big change in me come Monday morning, huh?
well, so maybe the good news is because early onset progresses faster, so now maybe it'll slow down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why is it going to slow down? Why is that? Well, because I have Alzheimer's now
Yeah.
and not early onset.
Well, that would make as much sense as saying it was going faster when you're 64.
I know. I
Okay.
know.
So
But you know, a lot of people. I want to say this, but a lot of people don't think about stuff like this. And it really doesn't matter. But
right.
it's so senseless to deem somebody having early onset Alzheimer's because of their age. That's that's when I figured out a lot of these organizations don't know what they're doing
Right. Who
because it
came up
makes
with that?
absolutely no sense.
Right. Well, and to say that it progresses faster or whatever else they say about it, when they're diagnosing the same exact disease, but they're based on age.
Right.
I think that's where we have to be educated. We have to be smart in this, not
And
take it.
that's what we do on them. That's our responsibility to say, hey, wait a minute, let's put the brakes on this.
About
You
this.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
this isn't what it seems, and
yeah,
it's a good thing.
yeah, it is. Well, and we've talked about it forever and a day, but it made me think of the virtual dementia tour. And, because to me personally, my feeling about it is that's kind of false hope.
Oh, it's
Because
absolutely.
they put something out there saying, putting on goggles and earphones and putting marbles in your shoes is going to help you understand what a dementia patient feels like.
Yeah.
And every dementia patient, including you, that I've ever heard has said, that is nothing what I feel like. That is nothing what I go through.
No. And
So,
the people that say that, nobody wants to hear that.
no, they don't.
They just don't
I,
want to hear it.
I haven't
They absolutely. What?
I was just going to say, I haven't talked to the lady who created it, but I've talked to people who promote it in their facilities and stuff. And I've talked to them and said, really though, what this is kind of showcasing is what it's like to have glaucoma in your eyes and arthritis in your hands and neuropathy in your feet. And one of them
Yep.
actually agreed with me. She said, well, you're right, but it still is a useful tool. And they
Yeah.
can't admit that maybe it's not. So it's
It behooves me, just like you said. I don't know any dementia patient that'll say, "Well, that's exactly that." They hit the nail on the head with that, and it amazes me that you can't get this through to people, to these people that are promoting this, and it just amazes me. I mean, it, if it was anywhere close to it, I'd be the first one to say, "Well, yeah."
right,
Just like the fog, the goggles, the fogged up. I don't have a thing wrong with my eyesight.
right,
Now there's people that do, but it isn't because of dementia. It's because they got bad eyesight.
right. That's old
Jeez.
age. That's old or bad,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, that's
Right. I don't have a thing with my dexterity in my fingers is not any worse than it was 20 years ago, but I can't play guitar like I could when it was 20 years ago.
and that's not because of your fingers feeling funny. It's
No, it's because of what's going up here in my brain. I can't do it anymore like I used to.
yeah,
Um, and that's because of the brain disease. It has nothing to do with my fingers
right,
or the placement of my fingers on the fretboard or whatever. Ain't got nothing to do with that. It has to do with my memory not knowing how to do the things I used to be able to do.
right. Well, what other
And
disease do they? Is there a virtual cancer tour? Is there a virtual diabetes? I just always, I just kind of wonder, why do we do this with dementia? Why are we trying to say, oh, we figured it out. We know what a dementia patient feels like, when you can't know what a cancer patient feels like unless you have cancer, you
I
know?
know, and when you do something like that, and you really believe that that's what some of these people are experiencing, it's dangerous, man, because it's it's just not true.
Well, then you've got a caregiver that thinks if
Right,
their loved one can't play guitar as well anymore, they're thinking, oh, it's because their fingers feel like they have arthritis or their fingers. And it
right,
isn't that at all.
right,
So that's the false hope that you think you've figured out or can
right,
understand. Yeah,
right. Or you got a dementia patient that refuses to eat.
yeah,
And everybody's like, well, we need to get them a red plate because
right.
somewhere along the line, somebody come up with this color red. And if you feed them off a red plate, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah,
What's crazy?
yeah,
Now, what I say is, and I'm not a genius, but I am a patient. I know I've lost my peripheral vision. When I put my arms out, look straight ahead, I should be able to see my fingers move. Like, that's
yeah,
good peripheral vision.
yeah,
Well, I
right.
can't do that anymore, but I'm older. That's the reason why I can't do that anymore. I'm older,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And but some people with really, really bad peripheral vision cannot see the food that's on the plate, cannot see a fork coming towards their mouth until it's right there, and it startles them. It has nothing to do with their appetite.
right. It's what is registering in the brain. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
and and I'm not saying this because I'm a genius. I'm saying this because this fallacy of a red plate is just that. It's
yeah,
people think it's an easy fix, and it has nothing to do with the color red
yeah,
or a plate for that matter.
right.
And then we got one person that me and Leanne know of that runs around the countryside teaching this stuff, and she actually said that if your loved one is eating, it's because they want to make you happy.
Yeah, yeah. Your loved
Wait,
one.
now think of what
Yeah, you're right. That is.
it. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. When you've got a dementia patient that you have to feed and you have to take care of and you have to watch, you can pretty well guess they're in the late stages. Maybe not
Right,
the later stages, but they're in the late stage.
right.
And the last thing that's on their mind is making you happy about anything. That's just crazy. They
That
don't
would
have
take
that
a whole
ability.
thought process. Right, right.
Right. They don't have that ability.
Yeah. And
It's
so,
just,
well, the danger in that then is if a caregiver feels like, well, if they're just eating to make me happy, I don't want that. So what is the
right,
next thought? Well, then
right,
gosh, they should just stop eating. I'll just stop feeding them.
right. And it
Those things,
happens.
right. And that can be a very tragic thing.
I've said for
Good.
years, there's people that sign these little, you know, things they want done, and there's people that don't want to be fed intravenously and
Yeah.
stuff
End
like
of
that.
life. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and more power to them. I believe in that. But if the patient hasn't done that and made them arrangements and made their wishes absolutely crystal clear, then the day that you stop feeding and giving your loved one something to drink is the day that you need to quit eating too.
Yeah.
Because this BS about, well, it's a euphoric feeling,
Yeah.
you're you're starving them to death. That's
Right.
exactly what you're doing.
They're not in pain, or it's
Yeah.
a natural thing or whatever.
Remember
Yeah.
what I told you a few weeks ago? If you don't believe me, just watch Survivor. Huh.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
people
and
on
I mean,
there,
but you
they
bring
don't
up
look
a
happy to me.
no, and getting those things, even me, anybody, getting those things planned well ahead of time before maybe you even have anything major going on, it is really, really important.
Here's a question I have for you, or I have for anybody that's listening. Here's a good one. Who do you know that has had a near death experience and came back and said, well, I know that I wasn't being fed and it was such a peaceful feeling.
Right.
I mean, you know, nobody knows anybody like that.
Yeah.
That's just, but to hear these people talk, it's like, well, this is peaceful for them. It's peaceful that you don't feed them and you don't make them eat. First of all, you're not making anyone do anything. You're putting
Right.
in an NG tube down their throat and their stomach to give them nourishment so they don't starve to death.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
But you have to,
There's pros. What's
well, I
that?
was going to say, but you have to lay that down ahead of time. I mean, you have to make all, like you said, your end of life wishes and everything. You've got to make that clear.
You do. And here's what you better think about. Who in their right mind thinks that because they're on their deathbed or near death or whatever, that not eating or not giving any nourishments or anything would be a good thing? Now, I just can't get that past my head. Who thinks that that's a good thing for anybody?
The only thing that I've heard is if people say their organs, once they're at the stage where their organs are shutting down, things like, I mean, and that would be like the end,
Right. Oh, I
organ,
agree with that.
yeah, and all of that.
I remember, well, I can pinpoint about anybody, but I remember distinctly with my mom and Phyllis's dad, their last hours and days. And the last few hours, I'll say, was they couldn't, I mean, the only thing you could do was moisten their lips,
Yeah,
and you couldn't even give them a drink of water or an ice cube or something, or fret they would choke to death or something like that. So you didn't want to do that. But that's that's pretty much common sense. But we certainly didn't stop feeding my mom a week before she died because she just didn't seem like she wanted to eat.
right,
I mean,
right,
nobody even thought about that. But
exactly.
this goes on all the time now. It's a big thing. Well, they don't want to eat. They're just eating to make you happy. So think about that.
Well, and exactly, somebody thinking that they know the mind of a dementia patient is kind of a scary thing. Uh,
It's irresponsible.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
irresponsible. I mean, any elderly patient that you deprive of food and water is irresponsible.
Right.
And
Right.
that's my opinion. I'm not, there's people that won't agree with that, and that's great. It's just my opinion, and your opinion
But
too, I guess. But
well, yeah, and yes, and we get questions about that.
yeah,
Gosh, mom isn't, she's not able to feed herself much and she doesn't really seem hungry. And what do I do? And mom may be in later mid stages and not even near,
right,
um, so it
right.
is a valid concern.
It is, and
Yeah.
that's for everybody. It don't have to be a dementia patient. You get anybody that's up in their, could be 70 for somebody, could be 90 for somebody else.
Yeah.
But there's nobody I know of in my family or in my immediate family. I mean, that'd be the day if Phyllis June would drastically get sick tomorrow and be on her deathbed a month from now, that we're going to quit feeding her.
Right.
This
Right.
isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that's something everybody's got to think about. You've got to think about that stuff.
Well, you better, because it may never come up, and it may come up a lot sooner than you ever would even
Exactly.
think about.
Yeah. It's never too early. Somebody else made a comment here too. Margot said there is an over-the-counter, I think Prevagen. That is the name of it. I've seen the commercials. She said, my loved one sees the commercials and wants me to buy it. They're expensive and they are only vitamins and they will not bring his memory back, but he cannot
No.
understand this. Yeah.
Well, that's because he doesn't have the ability to understand that. He sees something on TV that they're taking advantage of people by running them commercials.
Yeah.
Uh, there's nothing that anybody sells over the counter or by prescription that's going to slow the progression. That's just the truth.
Right.
Now,
Right.
try to get somebody to understand that don't want to understand it or can't have the ability to understand it. It's a whole
Well, I
different
was going
ballgame.
to say, yeah, dementia or not. We had a dear
Right,
friend of ours, and all he could see for his wife was a cure. He just
right.
couldn't deal with it other than just waiting for that cure. And he would ask me about this stuff, and it broke your heart. So,
Any any caregiver, excuse me, or any dementia patient longs for a cure.
yeah,
That goes without saying. But these people that they just dwell on it day in day out, I feel really bad for them, because life is passing you by.
right,
And I could have spent the last 7 years of my life worrying and researching and doing all kinds of stuff about a cure instead of doing what I've done. And I've helped out countless people through memory people, not me, but through memory people
right, right.
that would have never been helped had I went down the path of, well, I'm not going to find a cure, but put all my resources into that.
Exactly. Making that when, and they do need to research for a cure, and all of that needs to happen.
Oh yeah,
That is more than likely decades away. I mean, you think about cancer and how many cancers can we not cure, much less figure out why they even start, or how
right,
it started or whatever.
right.
We're not even there yet with cancer.
And
So,
they spend tens and millions of dollars on research every year. And one day they will find it. I mean, it
yeah,
could be next year, it could be, you don't know.
yeah,
It's just going to happen one day, but we're certainly not there yet.
yeah. We have another question here from Cheryl. She asked, and I'll just say really quickly, we're about half an hour behind on the questions and
Oh,
comments, but that's what we do. So because we don't want to skip any questions or whatever. So it's just how it works.
no,
So just
yeah.
leave comments and we're going to get to them. Cheryl asked, do you have any opinion on using CBD oil?
Do I?
Yes. Any
No,
opinion on using
no.
CBD oil?
I, I have an opinion on it, and it's not a good one.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
Well,
You
it's the
know,
same thing with everything else. That's an unproven thing that
right.
people try and
It's exactly that. If someone wants to give this to their loved one, and their loved one seems to be doing better or whatever, well, that's a good thing. That's all.
right,
But I don't want no part of it, because It's unproven.
Yeah.
It's I don't I don't like being on what I'm on now, and it's prescribed by a doctor. Now, this oil that she's talking of being prescribed by a doctor, everybody knows what it is, and I'm not saying it's just not for me. I,
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that road. I have enough trouble with my memory and my mind. I don't want anything that's even closely related to a hallucinogenic of any shape or form.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
want part of it.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want part of it. I quit drinking 7 or 8 years ago because of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to drink with the best of them, but I'm on so much medication I just can't do it, and I don't want to rob myself of what little memories I have.
Yeah.
And I made that conscious decision. Nobody had any more fun in the bar than I did. I'm telling you,
Right.
I love I love sitting around the bar and all that stuff.
It
But
was a social. Right. Exactly.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be around people anymore, and I was robbing myself of clear thinking. I mean, alcohol. Think about it. you know, it,
It doesn't promote clear thinking.
no, and I wouldn't say that I was an alcohol abuser, but I was pretty close in my day.
Right. Right. So
And
that would be the last thing.
I know people that smoke marijuana for years, and they just, it's the best thing since sliced bread, and more power to them. I'm just
Right.
not one of them, and I
Yeah.
don't promote it, and I don't. It's
We don't.
hallucinogenic, and it's
Yeah.
just
We
not a
don't
good
talk
thing.
about it on MP. If and there are some things that we do take down. If there's posts about saying coconut oil cured their loved one or
Right,
CBD oil
right.
did whatever, we just don't go there. There's other sites that'll tackle that, I guess. But
Well, and I want to say this before we get off this subject. I don't want people to think I'm a goody two shoes because I'm not. These people that smoke their dope at home and do whatever they do, that's their business, and hey, more power to you. But here's the thing: when you've got a patient, a dementia patient, that is in the later stages or whatever, and you decide to do this, there ain't nobody on this face of the earth that's going to know how that's going to affect them
right,
because they can't tell you.
right.
If they could tell you, they probably don't need it. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly, right.
Now, I'm not saying you use this oil and they're going to turn into a junkie. Nobody believes that. All I'm saying is, what if, just what if there's a slim, a 1% chance that you give this cannabis oil to your loved one and they have a bad experience and they
Right.
can't even explain it to you?
Maybe it in whatever way it affects them
Right,
adversely. They have no way to tell you that.
right.
Yeah,
The same
yeah,
way, if you give it to them and it helps them out immensely, they got no way of telling you that either because
right,
they've lost that ability to communicate.
right.
So that's where I come down on that. It's just, it's the unknown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I
I
okay.
feel like I'm on a soapbox, Leanne. I'm not coming across like that, am I? Because I certainly don't mean
Not
that
at
at all.
all. No,
Okay.
I don't think so at all. You're giving your opinion on it. The
Okay.
only thing I
Okay. I
could
certainly.
add is because I did, we were getting posts and I looked into a little bit, and there's many, many different concoctions, formulations of CBD oil. Some are
Right.
legal and some are not.
Right.
So that's
Right.
another problem in there. And you have to be almost an expert to know what kind to give them and everything else. It's not under a doctor's prescription. It's just, yeah,
Well, and here's what I always think about: even if you live in a state or you can get this legally through your doctor, that doesn't mean it's going to be a good experience for your loved one.
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that chance. That's just me.
Well, speaking from a caregiver's point of view, and you could speak from that too, if there was something wrong with Phyllis as their spouse, if something wrong with Lewis, yes, I would want to do everything I could to help him. But these people know that. People that are
Right.
wanting to sell coconut oil and CBD oil and all this stuff, they know how much we want to help our loved ones.
Right.
It's you've
Right.
said it a billion times, it's a big business. So to me, it's buyer
Well,
beware. I need to be smart about what I'm doing.
right.
Yeah.
lot of times they push this button. The main thing they do with the cannabis oil and things like that is the pain. And I've said forever, there's no pain associated with dementia. There's
Right.
none. I don't care what
Right.
anybody says. Now, that doesn't mean a dementia patient doesn't have pain. Of course they have pain. They're human beings. But my brain doesn't hurt. None of my limbs hurt because I have dementia,
Yeah.
Anyway, so we better catch up on the comments.
Yeah. No, I'm listening to you. Just reading through the comments. PETA here said she had commented down below, but she said, my husband, who has got vascular dementia and Alzheimer's, keeps telling me his head is so lost. I guess just meaning he's confused is what it sounds like.
Well, and here's the thing. What's her name, PETA?
PETA.
She's a little confused, or the doctor is, or something. What he has, you said frontal lobe?
No, her husband has vascular dementia and Alzheimer's.
Vascular. Okay, well, see, to me, and this is just my thinking, I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything, but vascular dementia is absolutely a type of Alzheimer's. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have vascular dementia, and the reason why people have vascular dementia is because it's a vascular problem. They have some sort of blockage.
Right.
Some sort of blockage, and it's affected their brain one way or another, and it's vascular dementia.
So, yeah, exactly. Right? Causes dementia symptoms. It's different than Alzheimer's because it's not caused by this thing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not caused by plaques and tangles. That's
exactly. Yeah. Right. So I guess they have.
But he also, I wonder how they know he has vascular dementia and Alzheimer's. Well,
I'm just thinking maybe he's had strokes or type of thing, and maybe.
But I mean, how would they do it? Yeah, I understand that would be because of that, but I just wonder. I mean, I can't even get a doctor that'll tell me 100% because they don't know, about early onset or whatever. Now you got people being diagnosed with two different types of Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. I'm not saying it isn't right. I'm just saying it's just crazy how some of this, you got Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. That's just horrible.
Right. Yeah.
It's horrible.
Deborah said here. I'm sorry.
I was just thinking I can understand, say, if you had a massive head injury, that would be a traumatic brain injury. And on top of that, if you got Alzheimer's or vascular dementia. I just don't know if you have vascular dementia, how you're going to get a diagnosis of Alzheimer's on top of that. But it's through the plaques and tangles, I'm sure.
If they've done imaging and stuff?
Yeah, that has to be it,
So maybe they've done imaging and found both problems?
But well, vascular dementia probably comes with the possibility of strokes or blockages or whatever.
Blockages. Yeah, because.
And then they might have did a CAT scan and seen plaques and tangles also.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Deborah said here, she's talking to you. She said, if you are mid-stage, my mom must be late stage because she cannot communicate like you. So.
Well, once again, don't compare your mom because of me.
Yeah.
I can carry on a conversation pretty good with just me and Leanne. Or doing this, I have no problems because it's something I'm passionate about. I asked the Alzheimer's Association, I don't know how I can talk about. She said, well, it's because you're passionate about it. Now, when it comes to a lot of other things, it's just not I can't do that very well.
You wouldn't be able to sit here and hold a conversation about it like you can with this. Is what you mean.
Or especially with two or three other people. We went to dinner last night with my two sisters. I haven't seen either one of them for a long time. And it was difficult for me. Not because they was my sisters, I hadn't seen her for a long time. It's because we was in a restaurant and there was 5 of us.
Oh, wow.
That's too many for me.
Yeah.
That's just it. And
in a busy restaurant.
It was just horrible.
Now you've talked about, because that reminds me, you talk about having family come to the camper and everything, and that is at least a little bit easier than like all sitting around in your living room or whatever.
Oh
Or
yeah, I think because it's outside and there's more space and I can get away easily.
yeah,
But
yeah,
even I remember we had our we had an anniversary party up here. Tia did on us a few years ago, 30th anniversary or 35th, something. I don't know, 40th maybe.
yeah,
Probably was 40th. And there was a bunch of people here, and I'd say, hell, I mean, 20, 30 people,
yeah,
and that was too. That I couldn't. That was too much.
much.
It just was, and I can't handle that. And there's people that's different. There's people that wouldn't bother them at all, and other things would. But
When that
I
happens,
just can't cope.
I was just gonna say, when that happens, do you find that you just kind of feel like you shut down as
Oh yeah.
yeah, as far as being able
And
to
what happens is I shut down about as soon as I hear about it. Excuse
that
me. As
it's
soon as
gonna
I hear
happen?
about something like that, yeah, I start worrying about it, and then it's just a snowball effect. We
So
got to
what?
go to a graduation party Sunday. Our granddaughter's graduated from Ohio State. Now, obviously, I can't go to Ohio State graduation. That takes 3 or 4 hours. There's thousands, 20,000 kids graduating. So we're going to drive over to Columbus and meet everybody for dinner at a restaurant. And I've been fretting and worrying about this thing for 2 weeks
Yeah,
because I know it's going to be a total mess. I just not the dinner or nothing. It's just going to be a mess for me because all the the strange restaurant and
yeah,
people and
yeah. So what if, because you see this on Memory People, and people say, "Oh my gosh, my mom just gets so stressed." And we saw it, my mother-in-law, very, very
yeah.
anxious about something. If we, even if it was like a church is on Sunday, a couple of days we're
Oh
gonna go to
yeah.
church. Yeah, it would just be like, um. So, but what if like you don't? What if they're, Phyllis, June, and Tia don't tell you about something until the morning of? Does that help?
Yeah, don't worry about it until that morning.
Yeah,
But see, here's the thing. Here's where you got to make decisions in your life. Our granddaughter graduating from Ohio State University with full honors, and she had a full ride. That don't happen every day,
right,
and
right.
I'm going to
Good.
be there. I'm going to be there. I don't, I can. I'll make. I'll make my way through it. I just will because I don't want to miss that.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah,
certain things that just don't rise to that occasion, and I know I can't put myself through it. I haven't went to Paige's graduation. I didn't go to Cassidy. Cassidy's got one coming up here in a couple weeks. I won't go to it.
yeah.
I just can't do it. It's
Right.
just I can't do it,
Well, and there's other
and I
things.
hate that.
Right.
Right?
Well, there's family stuff like going to the fair, the fair every year or whatever. Just lots
Oh
of things like
yeah,
that is just too much.
yeah. I haven't been to the fair in I don't even know 8, 10 years probably.
Yeah,
Last time I was at the fair, I was out there selling my book, and that's been 2010, so it's been 8 years ago.
yeah.
And that was a bad idea.
I thought you guys, I thought you guys sold some.
Oh, we did. We sold a lot of books, but it just wasn't good for me.
Yeah, it was just a lot.
It was, yeah, thousands of people, and ugh.
Okay, so Jackie asked here. She asked a question here. Um, okay, so she said, if your loved one does not seem to be aware of their dementia or limitations and has no idea what could be down the road for them, how do you discuss what they would want once they can no longer make these decisions for themselves? Um,
You've waited too long.
yeah, and how do you have the discussion about their wishes if they don't seem aware they have the disease, and to bring it up might upset them? It's kind of
Like you
past
said, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you done missed that time that you should have had that
yeah,
conversation. That's just, and don't feel alone because I would say 80, maybe even 90% of the people are like that because they
yeah,
just don't have that conversation.
yeah.
it's hard.
Well, and like I said, like that was the blessing that we had with my mom and mother-in-law both. They had that conversation. They had written it all out. We knew, and my dad too, and we knew what they
Yeah,
wanted. On top of everything else, thank God that we had that because everything's hard enough. So that's
yeah,
kind of my thing is I don't want to
yeah,
leave anything like that to my kids. Because it just makes
exactly.
it so much harder. Yeah. So
Both our parents, both my and Phyllis' parents are divorced and were remarried. So that led to two, four, six, eight people, I guess,
yeah, more parents.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And with stepdads and stepmoms and all that jazz. And not a one of them on my side of the family or Phyllis has had anything taken care of, nothing. And you just got to deal with it. We didn't like it, but what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing more traumatic than going to your mother's. You get down there and you got to pick out a casket because they did. That's a
Right.
thrill.
Pick out songs, pick out this, pick out that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And see,
Because nobody does that.
well, it's not like I'm going to turn over my grave if they play something I wouldn't have picked out. That's not it. It's just that I don't
No.
want them going through that trauma. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The worst time in somebody's life to be buying anything, and there's certain things that you got to purchase, like a casket and a vault. And that's the reason why these funeral homes are making a lot of money because they get you at your most vulnerable part of your life.
Right.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
want this $12,000 casket or you want this $3,500 one?
Right. And your
Uh-oh.
mom's going in. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Your mom's going in it. Do you want this vault that's hermetically sealed that costs $9,000 or we got this other one that's on special for $1,500? See what I mean?
Right. Well, and all of that too, like you were talking before,
Yeah.
feeding tubes. But my mom's made it clear, they didn't want heroic measures. That whole thing was all spelled, and my dad knew it was all
Yeah.
spelled out. So we knew what to do.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine some of the family battles that are drawn
Oh
because mother dies and they can't decide what dress they're going to put on her?
my gosh.
I
No.
mean, I'll bet it happens.
Right. Right.
Just
Absolutely.
something that just something that trivial.
Yep. Well, because you are so emotional and like emotionally charged, and everybody is.
Yeah.
Nobody's been through this. How many times have you been through losing your mom? This is the first
Right.
time. So yeah,
Right.
yeah. Joy said
I,
here.
I, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
You
I was
sure?
going to say something, but it's too personal. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want. I don't want to say it.
Okay. All right. Joy said here, I have faith that researchers will invent a drug to help slow down alz. My brother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. He's a non-smoker. He started taking his cancer pills specific for his biological genetic makeup, and his symptoms have improved. He'll be on the pill for the rest of his life. I mean, so maybe someday we're
Well,
going to do something like that for,
well,
you know,
yeah, I agree with her 100%. I have all the faith in the world too. I just don't, I just don't wake up every day or every other day thinking there's going to be a cure tomorrow or whatever.
well, so like you've been doing this, you were diagnosed in 2010 and you made
Yeah.
MP. I think I came on the scene a few weeks later. So we've been
Right.
watching this for a while, 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's looking at how far they've come and the milestones they've, crossed and everything else. Personally, my hope of we're going to get a cure has changed to,
Yeah.
maybe someday down the road, but hopefully sooner than that, we're going to have something that will find this, that you've got it early on, and slow. HIV and AIDS is what I think of. You can see that someone has
Right.
HIV, now they prevent it from going into AIDS. If we had
Right.
that, how great would that be? It's not cured, but
Right.
at least, yeah.
Right. And someday that'll happen, but it's just not here yet. And everybody wants that, and everybody believes that, and they pray for it and all that. And I do the same thing, but I just don't waste my time dwelling on a cure that there's no way it's going to be in my lifetime. And that
Right.
doesn't mean I'm not, I don't hope for it and pray for it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just a realist, and you know, here's the thing. I know, and I know this for a fact. I'm not just making this stuff up. I know for a fact that when you say they, I mean the scientific researchers and all these people, they are not one bit further today than they was 20 years ago in the research of a cure for Alzheimer's. They're just not.
No,
Now, a
it's
lot of people don't want to hear that and they don't want to believe it, but that's God's honest truth.
right.
They're
Right.
just not. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to find a cure tomorrow. They could, but they
I
haven't in the last 20 years. They're not any closer.
no, and I'm trying to remember. I have to look it up, but within the last 6 months, I believe, and I cannot remember all the specifics, but it was about one of the big names in research funding was pulling out of it because
Yeah,
for whatever reason. But it was kind of devastating because
yeah.
that was not a good sign. How many
I think
studies
it.
come forward and said this was successful?
Yeah. Well, it goes right along. Now, once again, don't think I'm being a Debbie Downer here because I'm not. I want a cure just as much. I would like something to slow it down just as much as anybody, especially being a patient. But it goes right along with this stuff of people. They tell you what you want to hear. Bill Gates, something like 9 months ago, donated $10 million to the research of Alzheimer's. And it come out 3 months later, his dad has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. But $10 million to Bill Gates is like me donating $20 to the Alzheimer's Association. It didn't do anything, and it's not going to do anything.
Right.
It's just not.
Yeah.
I remember when Obama was president, and he tried to get funding, more funding, he appropriated funding for Alzheimer's research. Well,
Right.
everybody thought that was it. That's
There we
a cure
go.
all for everything.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't mean nothing.
We've not.
It
I haven't heard anything that has come from.
no.
Yeah.
And then you have these. Here's what you have then. You have all these clinical trials. Well, you hear about these clinical trials, but you don't hear the results of them. You know why? Because there isn't any good results.
Yeah.
And I'm all for clinical trials. I'm not against them. They're just not for me. But the truth of the matter is, they're not a bit further along now with clinical trials than it was 20 years ago. And then you have people say, well, you got to have them because you got to, and I understand that. I
Right.
understand that. All I'm saying is, the truth of the matter is, we're no further along than we was 20 years ago, and there could be a cure next month.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, how
That's
many?
all I'm saying.
And that's realism. That
Right.
doesn't mean you don't have hope. It means that you are looking
No.
at this realistically. How many new drugs have come out that have said, "Hey, this is as good as Aricept, and it actually does slow down the disease." Even Aricept had to say, and it says
Right.
on the commercials, they have to start saying it doesn't slow down the disease because they can't prove that it does. So
Right.
that's kind of backwards too, because when that first came out, they were saying it slowed it down. So
Right. They were sued by the FDA, and they had to come out with that. They call it a misclaimer because what that excuse me, what that means is they lied about it.
right, making claims
So
that weren't proven. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. We'll get
If you
there
make
one
a
day.
claim like that, people's going to purchase that drug.
Well, exactly.
Excuse me.
You know what
Yeah.
concerns me a lot, because we heard it, neurologists that we've talked to, and people are still being told that Aricept will slow down their loved one's disease. And the
It's not true.
makers themselves say that it doesn't. So why are neurologists telling patients? It's just one of my soapbox things that that's false hope, and that's not right to do that.
No,
So
they're either misguided, misinformed, or they're just telling the person what they want to hear,
what they
which
want to hear,
none of the above, none of it's any good.
it's not right. It's not.
No,
And you don't.
not right at all.
I don't think you need to. Like, I was always very careful how I talked around my mother-in-law and talked about the disease and stuff, because I felt like who needs to be reminded over and over that they're gravely ill,
Right.
and who, that's just not necessary. So those conversations don't have to happen, in front of your loved
No.
one. Yeah.
Here,
Um,
let me tell you this. Let me tell you this story here. I don't know if people heard this before. I know Leanne has, but it's a good one. Our family doctor. He's been our doctor for 40 years, and he's the one that hooked me up. Well, with the first I've seen 3 or 4 neurologists. He got me into a neurologist. He was the head neurologist over at Ohio State University, and I went over there for about a year and a half. And then I asked my doctor. I said, I don't know why you're sending me over there. This is crazy. He said, Rick, because if and when they come out with something that's going to slow this progression down or even cure it, the chances of you getting hold of it is much greater
oh,
being hooked in with a neurologist over in Columbus University than it is here in Coshocton, Ohio.
okay.
Now, he should have never told me that because that's misguided. It's not true. I don't care who you're hooked up with. If they come out with a cure tomorrow, it isn't something you're going to read in the tabloids or on Jerry Springer or that Dr. Oz.
Dr.
This
Oscar.
is going
Yeah.
to be somebody's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and it's going to be known everywhere that they've come up with something that slows progression.
Right.
But
Right.
whatever this is going to be, it's not going to be released to the general public, me, for years down the road. That's just how it works. Look at the people. Do you remember back in the 80s, they come up with this cocktail that few people like Magic Johnson could afford it?
I
What
think
was
he
it,
was
like
the first one.
$5,000?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because he's the only one
that's
that could
exactly
afford that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly how this is going to be.
I
If,
agree.
well, if, but when they find whatever it's going to be, you're not going to be able to run down your local Walgreens or Walmart and get it through a prescription. It
Right.
ain't, you know, the common people are not going to be able to afford this. And that's just, once again, it's
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Right. That's not trying to be the bearer of bad news. It's,
No, no.
yeah.
There's going to be people make billions of dollars off this deal, and you know why? Because they can.
Right.
Yeah,
And it'll still be buyer beware like it is now. It'll still be,
right,
be careful what you're
right.
believing, what you're doing to your loved
For
one.
for years,
Yeah.
because it'll be the unknown. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not even there yet, but when it gets there, you could better believe it's going to be. And once again, a lot of people say, well, it's not my attitude. I'm just trying to be realistic to everybody that
Exactly.
this is
Well,
what you got to think about.
there's all kinds of things. There's, eat this type of diet. This will help you prevent get Alzheimer's or whatever. And
Right.
it's always good to be as healthy as you possibly can, but it's never been proven that any kind of diet specific is going to prevent you from getting Alzheimer's.
No,
So,
I remember. I I'm probably off a little bit here, but I remember back in the 70s or early 80s where this I don't know his name now, but he was a famous heart surgeon. And he did the first transplant, the first human transplant of a heart in uh, Africa, I believe it was, or something like that. And the reason why it wasn't performed in the United States because nobody could afford it.
oh,
Couldn't afford it. Nobody could. So they went to a third world country, and whatever.
yeah,
Nowadays, a heart transplant is done like is nothing.
right,
You see what I'm saying? 30,
right.
40 years later, it's nothing.
It's
But back
changed.
then, you might hear somebody having a heart transplant 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
Now they do 4 or 5 a day
Now it's
all
just a
over the
matter,
United States.
right. It's just a matter of waiting for a donor or for
Right,
kidney or whatever you're talking about. It's
right.
just a donor.
But back when these first started in heart transplants,
They weren't happening
only
every,
the very, very rich were
yeah,
afforded that luxury.
yeah,
They're the only people who got their name on the list.
yeah. Right, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, this is a little bit, that was That was good. This is just a little bit different topic, but Diana asked, how do we get over the embarrassment of this disease? I'm
Who
not
was that? Diane. What's her
Diana
last name?
Jones.
First of all, excuse me, Diane Jones. We are going to thrash her with a wet noodle. Do not ever, ever be embarrassed about having dementia. Ever.
Is this the one that you talked to at the camper?
Excuse me?
Is this the person you talked to at the camper that has?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
My, I just know.
Yeah,
I know where she's coming from, and I feel sorry, because I
right.
know exactly where she's coming from. A lot of people are embarrassed, and excuse me, they should never be.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
ever be like being embarrassed you got cancer.
Well, because I was going to say, number one, you didn't do anything to get this. This
No,
isn't your fault. Yeah,
no. But I understand her question. I have a deep empathy for people that have to go through that. They're
embarrassed.
embarrassed.
Right.
Oh,
Well, you know what I've always felt is since I've, been involved in this, you realize how much people value your ability to remember. If you can
yeah,
remember, gosh, they have such a good memory and they can remember this, then you're just like, wow, they're a great person. This is just so, regarded as
yeah,
great if somebody, and if you don't have a good memory, people tend to be looked down on and I just think that's ridiculous. Whether or not you can remember something speaks nothing to what kind of a person.
no.
So,
I went through a lot of things in the last few years with this dementia thing, even before I was diagnosed and after I was diagnosed in this past several years. But I can tell you honestly, not one of them was embarrassment.
yeah,
It just wasn't. Now I know there are people that, just like Diane said, and I just hated it, that there are some people that are truly very embarrassed,
right, right.
and I don't know what to do for them. I don't know what to do other than to tell them, just don't be
Feel that
embarrassed
way.
ever. You
Well,
can't.
you came up with
What?
something you've said forever, is you say, I have Alzheimer's, I'm not stupid.
Right.
And that's a very good thing for people to understand. Someone who has dementia just has dementia. It doesn't mean they're
Right.
stupid. Yeah,
No. No.
nothing to be embarrassed of.
If you was a pretty good mathematician in your life, chances are, now you're not going to still be a mathematician, but you're still going to know things about math.
Right,
My life career took me through EMS and police work. Now I can still talk about and give people pointers and things like that on them two topics.
yeah.
Excuse me, but I can't. I can't on a lot of other things because I don't know about them.
Diana just said it's my loved one that's embarrassed.
What's that?
Diana just commented, I scrolled up, she just commented and said it's her loved one that is embarrassed.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I wish it wasn't.
yeah.
I understand it, but
Do you think like reassurance and stuff,
yeah.
if you were feeling embarrassed or Phyllis June was embarrassed about it, would be reassuring them that
Well, that's about the only thing you got. If you're embarrassed about anything, if you do
any,
something embarrassing out in public, you just try to get reinsured. That's about all you can do. But it'd be horrible. It's just, on top of everything else, you're embarrassed because of it. Gee whiz, that just
something that you can't control and you had no part
right.
in, really, honestly.
Be like
It,
embarrassed because you have cancer or you have diabetes or something. I mean, and I'm sure there are people that are embarrassed because they suffer with diabetes. Maybe I mean I don't know, but
right, right.
the
You feel
world
like
we
you're
live
less
in, I
than.
guess.
Oh, it totally is because I think we elevate them so much if they have a good memory, if they can, whatever, I mean, fill in the blank. Yeah. Linda
Right.
said here, Linda said it's not just memory loss that makes people embarrassed. It's mostly the loss of ability and ability to speak that is embarrassing to my
Oh,
husband.
she's absolutely right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But once again, I've lost a lot of things I can't do anymore, and I've never wasn't. I'll tell you a good example was reading. I lost the ability to read a long time ago, and I didn't tell a lot of people that for a couple years. And it wasn't because I was embarrassed the fact I couldn't read anymore. It's just that I couldn't explain it. it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to explain that a 50-some-year-old man, I can't read it. I can't understand what I'm reading. You know, it's
Well, I
just
was going
hard
to
to.
say you can read the words, but it's
Right.
understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
Couple paragraphs. I can't remember what was in the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to understand that. It's hard for me to explain it. I don't have any trouble explaining it now, but when it first happened, I woke up one day and I just couldn't. I couldn't understand what
Yeah.
I was reading.
Yeah. Right.
And I was never embarrassed over it, but I had a hard time explaining it.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a little embarrassed. Maybe that's why, because I had a hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Um, yeah. No, that's fine.
I gotta let the doggies out.
Okay. Joy, you had a comment here. I'm going to read it. When our society is bombarded with the coming early onset dementia diagnosis, maybe then funding and research will take this disease more seriously and aggressively. I read the baby boomers will be the ones where early onset will start the realization of how rampant dementia, particularly early onset. Yeah.
I agree with that. I think so too, because there's going to be so many of them.
That's what they've talked about. There's going to be so many that are going to be ill with this. And
the bad part about it is, I think instead of working harder to get it cured, they're going to be working harder to build facilities to make
exactly.
money. I mean,
well, I mean, you hate to be a negative Nelly or whatever you call it, but wouldn't that make sense? Build more
oh
facilities.
yeah. If I was,
Sure.
I'll tell you what. If I was a businessman and contractor, I'd put 3 of them up in this community right here.
Yeah.
Right here, 100-mile radius, because there ain't any.
Just get ready.
Actual dementia care units, if that's all they do, dementia care.
Right. Well, that's what they put up more and more. Is just
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. There's money in it, and I'm glad they do, because these facilities are going to be needed. I'm glad they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't trying to stir us off, but Joy had made that comment, and we've talked about that for years and years now.
Yeah.
That the coming epidemic, and honestly, this has been an epidemic for quite a long time now. It's here. It's just because we've talked about the statistics of how many people are diagnosed and all of that. You talk about how many people have it now. Well, that's only based on who's actually gone to their doctor at all because they have memory problems, and then which doctors actually put a word on it. Many doctors now don't seem to want to say it's Alzheimer's or whatever. They'll just say, oh, dementia, not of whatever, however you say that. Dementia, probably of the Alzheimer's kind, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Probably the Alzheimer's type. Well, then you got the Alzheimer's Association. Their big thing is every 68 seconds someone's diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That's about a joke.
Right.
Tell me how anybody knows that.
Exactly.
It's just a number they pull out of the sky.
Right.
Every 68 seconds, whatever.
Well, and that's the same thing. That's people that have gone in and their doctor said,
yeah,
the only way you can definitely determine Alzheimer's is looking at the brain after death. I mean, there's no definitive test. So it's.
No. Well, and then what about the millions of people that was never diagnosed, ever, because of whatever reason? They didn't go to the doctor, or they died, or whatever. I don't know.
That's exactly it.
I mean, that 68 seconds could probably be down around 40. I mean, you don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit, but diagnoses are changed in this. I know a couple of people that have had said they had Alzheimer's, and then it got changed to Lewy body.
Right.
So what does that mean? So when they pass away, then it's going to say it was because of Lewy body, or just not even mention dementia, but it won't be attributed to Alzheimer's? The whole thing is.
I figure when I go, this is how I figure it's going to go. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I figure I'm going to be shot going out the window by a jealous husband.
Goodness. I'm going to need to see if I can edit these videos. I'm going to check
I
off.
tell Phyllis, I tell Phyllis June that she just rolls her eyes.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah, she does. She does that. She does that a lot. So anyway, we got any more? Yeah.
Well, Troy just commented here, early onset people are typically the youngest ones in these memory care facilities. There just needs to be early onset dementia homes just for that age group.
No, that's because they diagnosed before they were 65.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the fastest progressing type of dementia that there is, early onset. Then you ask somebody, why is that? And you never can get a straight answer.
Right. No, I've not really heard a reason for that.
No. Or a reason why you got to be 65 to have Alzheimer's. I mean, that's a mind-boggling number there too.
You mean how did they pick 65 and not 60 or 70 or
62 or 70? Yeah.
Right.
Somebody somewhere come up with 65.
Well, like you said, you kind of wondered, is it tied with disability? Or, why is that the magic number? Yeah.
And I'm not making light of it. We're not making light of it. It's just that these are some of them things we talk about when we say there's a lot that goes on. It's unexplainable.
It's unexplainable, but we tend to just sit back and accept this information that we get. And, I'm teaching Maggie all the time. Don't just accept information, no matter who it comes from, the school or wherever, that's just, the gospel truth.
Well, and that's highly a problem with that's a whole other topic, but, with our colleges and learning institutions around the United States, it's just, what was I reading the other day? What was I seeing? I seen on the news the other morning where they took 6th graders. They had like 40 6th graders, and 37 of them couldn't tell time on a clock. Like
oh my, because everything's digital now.
Yeah, if it wasn't digital, they had no idea what time it was. 30 some of them out of 40. Can you imagine?
So basically, yeah. So if a clock can't tell them, they can't tell time. They can't.
Right.
Wow.
Right. They don't know if it's 20 after 2. They don't know what that means. They're just like, I don't know what time it is.
Yeah.
I just can't fathom that.
Yeah. Well, with Maggie, we were talking about politics, or she was talking about how, Lewis always has politics on in the car. He's taking her to school or whatever. And she said, it doesn't matter to me. And I said, no, it actually does. You've got to be wise and not just accept, even from this, you've got to know how to dig for the truth. And that's really kind of what we're talking about here today, is digging for the truth in things. Right. But you and I talk about a lot is,
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yep.
Diana said here, she just commented, there also seems to be no support groups for the dementia persons themselves, only caregivers.
No, memory peoples for dementia patients. We've got several dementia patients. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I think what she sees is, it's difficult for a dementia patient to express himself, to type.
Yeah. Well, and maybe
do that.
Local, maybe she's talking about local groups that she could take.
That could be. Oh, that could be, yeah. I
don't know. The Alzheimer's Association, I don't know if they provide anything like that for.
Well, it used to be when, I can only speak for this area, but I remember I wasn't allowed to go. Support groups, and I wasn't allowed to go because I was a patient. I couldn't believe it.
I do remember one of our members was a patient, and she was only 55. And she said she wasn't allowed to go because she was too young. They had an age
Yeah,
cutoff,
yeah.
and she wasn't old enough, but yet she was a patient.
See, somebody, this is what I mean. You just got to stop and think who comes up with this craziness.
Right, right.
They told me the reason why they didn't want a patient involved in their support group here locally is because the caregivers couldn't express themselves like they would if I was sitting there. And I'm like, well, that's in your mind. That's all
Yeah,
that is. That's in your mind.
yeah.
Because I know exactly what's coming. I could tell you what's coming better than anybody that cares for somebody because I have it.
Right, right.
Now, granted, there's some patients that don't, that you wouldn't want at a support group. You just wouldn't be a good
Well,
thing.
maybe there are some that wouldn't want to go. Diane's husband, sounds like
Right.
he would want to go. He would want to
That's
participate in.
what I mean.
Yeah,
This,
and he can't.
once again, everybody's different and he can't. That's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it may be some people are, um, they're comfortable online and all that kind. Maybe he's not, but Diana, he would be welcome to join MP, and that would be totally up to
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys, and that would work out. But yeah, we have quite a few patients on MP, and they
Yeah.
post and
Yeah.
comment, and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I thought she meant on memory people. You're right. Yeah.
she
She's right.
commented here local. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. She's right. I mean, I remember like here locally, they didn't want me. I went, after I talked to them a couple of times, and I went after that, and
yeah,
it was great. I mean, because they
yeah.
bounced. That's the reason why I wanted to go, so they
Right.
could ask a patient things that they wouldn't ask their loved one.
Exactly. Well, instead of sitting around saying, like I would have been with my mother-in-law, I don't know why,
I wonder.
why is she doing this? And everyone's sitting around saying, I don't know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then you said, when
Right.
you're around a bunch of people, how it can affect you. And
Right.
that helps me to see maybe that's affecting her that way.
Yeah.
That made a huge
Pretty
difference.
simple premise. Yeah.
Right. So but like, I mean, and you've said that's why you've made MP the way you did, because everybody can benefit. I always hope the patients get a benefit out of sharing. I guess to know that you're not alone in this and everything would be good.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember I had not a bunch, but I had a few people that were very important in the dementia world. They were very important because they thought they were, but they'd tell me that this will never work because you can't have patients and caregivers together, and that still that still blows my mind to even think of that.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, somebody somewhere had to sit around. Well, we can't have these two groups of people together because that'll never work.
So then they say that, and then everybody just believes that and says, well, so and so said this wouldn't work. So
Well, I told him that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
yeah.
He said, "Well, Rick, you'll find out." And I said, "Well, yeah, you're right. I'll find out." And I did. We got about 18,000 people that disagrees with him,
Yeah. Well,
and and,
exactly.
and and he that was just his opinion, and that was okay. I just told him. I said, "You're just wrong."
Yeah.
Could tell he never heard that word very often.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Exactly. Well, guys, we have like 10 minutes left or 15 minutes or whatever. If anybody has a question, just
yep. Hang on.
I okay. I think our comment box is working. It might be just a little bit laggy, but if anybody has a question or comment or anything, I don't think we've missed anything here.
No,
But
I hope not.
go ahead and throw it out there. Yeah. So, but it was good.
Yeah.
Go over all this stuff.
I want to say, and I've asked you a couple times, you said I didn't. If I appeared to be on a soapbox or something, I never ever want to come across like that. Like I know this, because I'm not that type of person. I'm very passionate about some things, and I come across strongly sometimes. But
But
I don't
no,
want anybody to think that.
it got laggy there.
Oh, you're froze.
Okay. Am I froze? Is it working?
No, yeah, you're okay.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I do, and I would hope everybody does. But that's what you were just talking about. People who come out with an opinion about something, but they present it to everyone like this is what we all should do or all shouldn't do, or this is what I
Yeah,
think, so it's true. And if anything I've ever seen you do is every post you make and everything is make sure that people understand these are your opinions. So it's truth for
right,
you, but if it's not truth for them, the world is not going to come to an end. Everybody has their own opinion, their own look at things.
right,
And
right,
so,
right.
yeah,
That's what I guess I worry about that sometimes because I've had so many people in the prior years um, say that it's always about whatever Rick says goes, and that's never been. That's just complete fabrication. I mean,
right.
I've never run memory people like that. You know that, Leanne, better than anybody. Working with me all these years. Do what's good for people, not for Rick Phelps.
Right,
you know,
right.
it's just the way it is. It's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say people can express their opinions. You're not the only one in the group that expresses their opinions. We all do. But it's always within
Right,
the parameters of respect and all of that kind of stuff, understanding this is your opinion,
right.
it might not be mine. That's just
Yeah.
maturity.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And it's the difference in people. I mean, I always say exactly what I'm talking about, and I do, but you just got to keep in mind I'm talking about me. That's who I'm talking about. That's the reason why I know about it because it's me.
right, right. You're not like many other people are. You're not sitting back saying you understand what they're going through or you know what they should do or whatever.
No,
Um,
no,
that's where we need to be careful.
no. I'll give suggestions out to anybody. They'll listen. I'll tell them what works for me and what me and Phyllis June, what works for us, what doesn't work for us, or whatever. But
Right.
I mean, that was a big part of that book I wrote, and the one we're working on now.
Yeah,
It's all about perspective and how people look at this and how they deal with it.
exactly. Right. And it's what works for your situation. I mean, even my mom who had vascular dementia and my mother-in-law who had Alzheimer's, both of their situations were dramatically different. How their diseases affected them, the stuff that my dad's had to do to take care of them. I mean, they were about the same age and everything, but two completely different stories. So what worked with my
It
mother-in-law,
is, yeah.
yeah, it was you just couldn't compare it.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
Everybody's different.
yeah.
Listen, when we wrap up here, I'm not going to be able to Skype with you, but I want to tell you this. Will you send me the link to this, whatever page you're going to put it on?
Yes.
I think it's going to go on resources, you said.
It's gonna be it's on our awareness page now, and then I'm gonna put it over in our MP Talks group also. But I'll give you the
That's
link
what
to
I mean, resources, yeah.
to the page it's on.
Yeah, because I don't have my computer up. Yeah, I don't have my computer up here. I just have the iPad, and
Oh,
I don't know whether I can find it or not, so I'll look at it later.
oh yeah, 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 I'll do that. No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't look like
Well,
anybody else.
listen, I want to thank everybody for putting up with us. Yeah, for your home for an hour or two, and all the questions and comments we got. I hope we helped somebody, and maybe even enlighten somebody. I don't know. That's what it's all about, just trying to help each other get through this.
Yep, yep, yeah, for sure. It was good.
Yep.
If anybody did have
Thank.
questions and you didn't get a chance to, or you were embarrassed or whatever, don't be. When we get together
No.
again, just bring it up. We'll talk about. There's only like two things that we don't really tackle. I mean, we don't talk about suicide. If anyone has suicidal problems or issues, or your loved one does, always go seek help for that.
Right.
It's nobody on the internet can take care of that for you. So we always say go get help for that. But yeah.
No. That naked gardening. We don't really want to talk about that.
What?
Naked gardening.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I know that's a big thing in May, I guess. Naked gardening. We don't really do
You know, I saw like it was a picture on Facebook or something about that. It was like, seriously, there's literally a day for everything, I guess. Not
Let
for
me tell you
me.
what I did. It was May 1st. It was Naked Gardening Day, May 1st. Threw $70 worth of gas riding around looking at gardens. I didn't see anybody gardening. I think they ought to wait till June.
Well, there wasn't anybody doing that here on May 1st, I can tell you. Yeah.
I still think we ought to remember we want to do that naked bike ride. I think that would be a good fundraiser.
You've never really defined who we is, because I don't remember ever raising my hand for that.
Well, see, this is
Must
where
be you and Phyllis Jane.
this this is one of those things. Being a personal assistant, that you should already know. When I
Oh,
say we, that's just you. That
oh,
just is.
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'll flip through my manual and find
Well,
that chapter.
sometimes we doesn't affect Phyllis June, but it always affects you. So
Oh, I see. See, now I've been
yeah.
doing this for 7 or 8 years, and I really wasn't aware of that.
No, you was aware of it. You just don't pay attention.
Well, I know what I block out and what I don't.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, putting up with us. We have a lot of fun doing these things, and I hope we're going to try to get it on YouTube.
Yes,
That'll be
we
fun.
are. Yeah, I should be able to do that, and then I'll post in the group, let everybody know. So,
Yeah.
and that's really easy to do too.
Yeah. So if you'll send me the link here in a little bit,
Yeah,
and I'll talk to you tomorrow then. Huh?
sounds good. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.